Process Explorer for cleaning machine from scratch. In this case, we're assuming that other tools you've used, Malwarebytes, ADW Cleaner, and others, have failed at removing stuff. This is how you'd proceed from there. We're, of course, a lot of this we wouldn't have as much had I already run those ahead of time, but I was looking to have the most stuff to give an example from. First thing that you see here is that this machine's pretty obviously and pretty heavily infected. I just went online and Googled for YouTube downloaders, and then Googled my computer is slow, downloaded and installed everything. So, standard stuff a user might do. Going through this, we're going to assume that you're familiar with standard service policy and procedures. This is a lot like that, except we skip everything like the room's on fire around you. As you can see, there's still a ton of garbage starting up. And continues to keep starting. The monitor squeezing stuff was VirtualBox being dumb. We can see there's also a ton of stuff running, especially the ever popular Search Protect, which is infuriating, which we'll get to in a little bit. Alright, so first thing we do is open up Process Explorer. And as soon as we take a look at it, we can see a lot of stuff running that we don't like looking at. Just all over. First thing we're going to do is head into Options, which I didn't click on. There we go. Verify image signatures and check virus total, which will also pop up your browser. Faster you close it, the less you're going to have to deal with it. You could see there for a second something strange came up right there when the browser opened. We'll come back to that too. You can see down under Explorer and more of the userland stuff, there's a lot of obviously weird, shady stuff running with a ton of virus total positives. We're going to just go ahead and kill stuff. Kill them all would also be relatively effective too, but sometimes you want to take a look at what you're dealing with, especially after you've already attempted to clean the machine with automated tools. The green stuff showing up for just a second are programs that are restarting, and we're going to see some of that here as we continue through here. A lot of these applications are going to restart. I went ahead and pulled up the antivirus scans on one of those Windows logo ones. We see this one's identified as ZBot several times, which is more than enough. With simple Googling points you to ZBot is another name for Zeus. They're both common names, and Zeus was a Trojan that was used to deliver explicitly malicious payloads, banking fraud, and crypto locker. So we're going to go ahead and kill that, but something like that is a good case for something that's likely a virus removal. And then we're still going through and removing a bunch of stuff from running. This is a place to start before we get to Autoruns, and I'll get to why in a little bit here. Some of these, especially GeekBuddy and all that Komodo garbage, is going to come back over and over. There it goes. And it's frustrating, but there's still a way around that. Same thing with ever popular Search Protect. Search Protect frequently comes along with uTorrent. If that's something that you use yourself, that's something you're probably going to see too. Apparently I tried to kill GeekBuddy 4 times before giving up and realizing it's time to move on for the sake of this example. Occasionally, killing process tree, which I did way too fast for you to see there. Right click, kill process tree, will also eliminate anything that's launching it, but usually that will appear immediately above it. Sort of like how DCA monitoring appeared under task engine there. This is a good example of a false positive. We know VBox Tray is safe. We don't know what Tencent is, but clearly it's not good antivirus. That's safe to ignore. We'll also see this pretty often with D7. And some other harmless programs that, someone out there doesn't like. Weakly positive on virus total doesn't necessarily mean you should remove it. There you can see again Kango engine and DCA host getting loaded with Internet Explorer. It comes up each time Internet Explorer comes up. Alright, so that's enough of Process Explorer. We've killed what we could, and we're going to head on over to Autoruns. The first thing we're going to want to do is go to Options, Hide Microsoft Entries, change the scan options to verify code signatures, and check virus total. You might get another browser pop-up, again, close it. This is important because it will hide anything that's verified and 100% for sure signed by Microsoft or Windows, which is good. That saves us a whole lot of eyeball time on stuff we just don't want to look at. Sometimes it takes a minute or two to finish scanning, and it takes a little longer for virus total results to come through. They're not hugely important here because a lot of this stuff you should just kind of know. And familiarity will grow as you spend more time doing it too. So I immediately start unchecking stuff that obviously shouldn't be running and is very clearly nasty. My PC backup, all these Optimizer Faster Super Ultra Pros, and some of these strange things that just shouldn't be there. That the red one in the center, AVBY string of garbage, it's very common. Used to be much more common for malware to load in such a way with a randomly named, totally unsigned piece of garbage. You see adware doing it pretty often now, but you still see malware doing it occasionally too. Right now we're just running down the list and unchecking anything we know shouldn't be there. Komodo security is a little bit of a caveat. In this case we know it's from GeekBuddy. If they use Komodo antivirus, it's a little bit more of a sort through, but in my opinion, I'd recommend no one uses Komodo's antivirus because they have some extremely shady business practices and their antivirus is poor quality. And we'll note that it's not always necessary to uncheck the yellow ones, like those two CPU-Z ones that were near the bottom there. Those are totally normal. Those were just left behind by something else and they don't hurt. So this is why we were killing so many things. Now we can go through and find the location of it by right-clicking on the item in Autoruns and going to Jump to Image, and then we can browse through and take a look at each of the things, see what they are, and remove them. In a lot of cases, when you jump to one, if you go up a directory or two, you'll find the location of a whole bunch of other stuff we don't like. Like we can see Optimizer Pro and Search Protect and Settings Manager. Although some of this stuff we weren't able to kill, so when we try and delete it, it might not delete, or it might not delete from another location it lives at. Don't know why I decided to do these one at a time. There we go. That makes a lot more sense. That YTD55, that was one of those strange pieces of malware we saw that was related to or was the Zeus Trojan itself. I'm not sure what the payload was in this case, but it would likely show up in the same way. You'd see something strange you didn't want to deal with. You'll see a couple of these I go into to take a look at what they are, to see if they're legitimate programs, components of legitimate programs, or the trial offers that came along with it, trying to pass themselves off as legitimate. Like this one is obviously where uTorrent runs from. This is obviously something awful. So we go ahead and pull that out of there. And then we continue as such. In most cases, we've already recognized that these are malicious from seeing them in Autoruns and Process Explorer, or we recognize that they're malicious by name. When we go through here, I look for some more stuff that wasn't located in app data to find a few more places, to play around in. And there's an example of one we can't close because it keeps regenerating, which is frustrating, but we already unchecked it. It won't be able to come back. The place it's loading from is worth noting too. App init DLLs near the bottom. If those things aren't unchecked and they're yellow, you get a pop-up on startup, which Search Protect really likes to do, even after removed by Malwarebytes in some cases. What I did there, which you might not have seen, was hit F5 to refresh. That's going to reload everything and show more yellow for anything I've deleted. Once the file itself is removed, it'll be deleted. I've unchecked everything that I'm capable of doing, which is why I restarted. What we want to do is unload anything we've unchecked but weren't able to delete, so we'll be able to delete it on another reboot. This is normally something you might do if you're forced to wait for Malwarebytes or ADW, because they're taking a little longer than you'd like. Usually, if I'm out of other things to check, look at, try, or test, once I get those scans started, I'll begin running through Autoruns anyway. While I'll have to do it twice, it'll still make that issue a lot easier to solve, and the more you can consolidate reboots throughout the course of these services, the better. In a lot of cases, a reboot may take as long as 5 minutes, and that sucks. You have to do that 3 times, and your 30-minute service is now a 45-minute service. We want to avoid that. Now we can see in Process Explorer that it's pretty much spotless, which is pretty cool. This machine is almost clean, although there's still enough references to dangerous programs that they might be able to get back to them or reinfect themselves, which we obviously don't want to happen. And you can't count on the user to not be bad. So we're going to go through and delete the last couple of things that shouldn't be here. We see in Program Files, Common Files, a couple more things that are obviously shady. Speedy PC, US Tech Support. We're going to go ahead and remove those, and now that they're no longer being loaded at startup, they can just be deleted. Shift delete's a good effort, unless you're worried you might be deleting something by accident, then you can just delete it, empty the recycle bin at the end if nothing is bad. But don't forget to do that. Or not if nothing's bad. You know what I mean. In case you're worried something is necessary for the client to use the machine. And then I basically repeat the same thing. Now we're in Program Files. So we're going to pop through there and remove a bunch of stuff. And again, it's really never a good idea to delete the whole folder for an antivirus program. But in this case, we know it's exclusively related to that Komodo chat scam garbage. So that's okay. If they had Komodo antivirus and you deleted it, you could result in an unbootable machine. I've accidentally done it with McAfee, and it's not fun. It's easier when you can have them bring it in. It's pretty bad when they're, 2,000 miles away from you. Same with Norton, same with lots of them. Alright, and there I'm highlighting refresh to show you. Again, I removed a bunch, so we refresh. Now you'll see a boatload of yellow stuff. You see this occasionally too. It's not evidence of an infection or a problem at all. Sometimes when Autoruns is polling for entries, something gets confused and either Autoruns or Explorer has to restart. That's okay. Just try again. And I'm working back through about the same thing here. Going to a couple other places and deleting things that I'd like to be gone, that really I don't want to be there at all. In some cases, something located deep in app data with no load point is pretty harmless. It's unlikely they're going to find it, but it also doesn't hurt to remove it. You might reveal a load point that you didn't see elsewhere or that didn't get removed from something else. Although in 99.99 a million nines, you're going to see every imaginable load point for everything in Autoruns. The only exceptions are very strange CLSID hijacks and other types of registry hijacks, which you'll still usually see. On rare occasion, they're well hidden as command line extensions to things. One good example was Powlix, which you wouldn't see any example of in Autoruns at all, and it kind of had to be looked for specifically. You would, of course, have seen very unusual behavior in Process Explorer, which is the advantage of these two tools. They're both basically timeless. What we're learning here is the absolute bare bones basic tools you need to effectively solve problems and learn how to see problems. We saw after it's restarted that it didn't check all the stuff we had checked before. Usually it'll save this permanently, but sometimes it forgets. So if you're seeing a lot of Microsoft stuff, just do it again. You must cancel the scan to be able to change all those options too. Now we see a lot of yellow. It's pretty much all unchecked because I needed to. But again, we ignore the CPU-Z stuff. We do see another search protect entry having been created. We're going to uncheck that because if we restarted now, we'd get a pop-up about it. It's not necessary or wise to ever delete anything from Autoruns. The only real exception to that is something you know that's bad in Task Scheduler if you're unable to uncheck it normally. This happens sometimes. Now that we've done that, we're going to take another deeper look at some of the other things we can do with Process Explorer after I close the duplicate I opened. Unfortunately, you can't see my mouse cursor, but up on the top there's that little button that I just clicked on right under Process. It looks like a picture of a DLL extension icon. What we want to see is all the DLLs loaded by each thing. One of the common things you'll see is strange things with no company name. They also won't have a signer, so they'll appear right at the top if you sort by company name. This is typically the way you want to do it, or by virus total positives. But it's not perfect or reliable to use virus total positives, just helpful for immediate identification of some things. The example I'm doing now is opening this up. You'll see on the right a strange thing just appeared under Systems Loaded DLLs. Sometimes tools you've run will result in you chasing your tail on something strange that shouldn't be there. It's normal to see Process Explorer and those 3 dump files, and sometimes some other things. But anything packed or purple in highlight color in that thing, or pretty much anything else that's in there, you might want to be a little curious about and look into. Sometimes it's harmless, like that thing that we just saw come up from TDSS Killer. You'll see that from other tools too. It can often be evidence of a rootkit, but not always, and that's specific to system. DLLs getting loaded under system. You won't always be able to see details about them either, which adds some complexity. The important note is to not chase your tail on something. Try and figure it out quickly, or ask for help. Now I'm going through. You can see we're not seeing anything unusual or strange as a loaded DLL under these. Sometimes it takes a few minutes to load the list of DLLs, or a few seconds. Now I'm moving down to a positive. We can see there's one virus total positive on the right there. And if we resort this thing, we can see what specific loaded item under that object is giving it. So even if it's just a single loaded DLL showing up as a positive, it'll still show up as a positive up there. So let's just investigate a little bit deeper where that virus total positive is coming from, if necessary. These things, the index.dats and those long CLS IDs loading under Explorer and a few other things, are pretty normal. You're going to see a lot of that too. Now we're covering some of the real basic stuff that's worth checking that you wouldn't see otherwise. IP address and corrupt DNS, specifically DNS being set to something stupid. And then we're going to go ahead and go to the host file. There's a lot of ways to do this. I just type it in command line notepad and then the address to host. That'll open it right up, and if you have UAC turned off, we'll open it as admin. Nothing at host, so we're good there. And then we go ahead and check out Internet Explorer properties. We want to get the home page set back to something normal. Google's the main standby unless they ask for something specifically. We're going to check the security zones. Generally, it's a good idea to reset all zones to default level. And then in dial-up and VPN settings, if they're not a business client, there shouldn't be anything in there. And in most cases, there shouldn't anyway. Same thing with LAN settings. You can pretty much just uncheck everything in there. There should never be anything in Startup Script or elsewhere. These I came to for just a second. All of this is also parsed by Autoruns, so you never really need to check that. The same thing with some of the other stuff. You can reset Internet Explorer, but it's not really necessary. And then we just want to make sure that it's loading correctly, and that nothing strange is still coming up. We're pretty sure it wouldn't, but it never hurts to check. We're going to do the same thing with Google Chrome, which can be a little bit of an outlier, because nothing Google Chrome does shows up friggin' anywhere, except inside Chrome. It can kind of suck to get around in. First thing you're going to want to do when you open it after you're pretty sure it's clean, tell it restore settings or reset browser settings to default. It's usually the first thing that comes up in settings if Chrome detects that there's a lot of garbage going on. We can see Vostoran got in there. We'll go ahead and remove that. In a lot of cases, we'd handle that a different way that I'll come back to in a sec. We see Vostoran changed a lot of other settings, so we're going to go ahead and reset Chrome back to the defaults, which will put back the search, any proxy settings, but Chrome should use Internet Explorer's proxy settings, and also the new tab page. Everything will go back to how it's supposed to be when you first install Chrome. So we're good there. We can see a lot of bad icons on the desktop to point to programs that we've removed completely. We're going to want to go ahead and see if any of them still open or exist, which they don't. They just haven't refreshed their icon or have their icon stored elsewhere. Or are shortcuts to internet addresses. And then we're going to go ahead and just delete those. The advantage to doing it the way we did it, rather than spending 45 minutes in add remove programs, is because add remove programs or other tools are typically one at a time. And even when they're not, you're not analyzing everything that program's doing when it's uninstalling, but it might be installing even more adware or dropping more special offers in different places, which we don't want. Removing it this way lets us know it's totally gone, and we just have to chase around the shortcuts to it. So we go ahead and do that, and we still see a lot in the start menu. So we're going to go ahead and open all users and delete any of the strange shortcuts that shouldn't be there for all that garbage. Again, the exception to this is that there might still be entries in add remove programs. I typically ignore these because they take a while to remove, and it's pointless because they don't go anywhere. They don't do anything, and it's likely that MSI installer was in the default directory of the application rather than in the directory for MSI installers, so you probably can't even remove it. If a client requests it, you can help them out with it, or if they notice it, you can let them know they're harmless remnants and totally safe to ignore. If they're still bothered, again, then give them a hand removing it. But again, we're focusing on speed here rather than making sure everything's perfect. We don't have the luxury of extreme time, and these services are more profitable the quicker they are. So we've gone ahead and removed all the shortcuts, and we're looking pretty good. The last thing we're going to do is restart again. I could have checked Chrome earlier, but I failed to do so. But Chrome adware and Chrome garbage will often reappear even without any place to load from. I don't know how it does it, but somehow it's coded into Chrome's add-ons or into Chrome's plugins, or set up some way to tell Chrome to reload it on launch, which can be pretty frustrating. So we're going to talk about how to deal with that. The same sort of applies to Firefox, but not so much. Usually you pull them out of Firefox and they're gone. So, we don't have any extensions coming back, which is good. Sometimes Vosterin does, or resetting it doesn't remove the nasty extension. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get an extension. We're going to use AdBlock Plus, but we're going to get something in there that we can use to take a look at as if it were malicious. So we're going to go ahead and get that extalled, because that's a word now. We're going to use that word now. So AdBlock Plus has been installed. Pretending it's malicious, first thing we're going to want to do, turn on developer mode. Sometimes you'll see a load point here. Ignore that. It's not right or ever helpful. Copy that ID, that strange long string of letters, and search computer for it. You might need to turn on hidden files and folders. You might not, depending on its location. As long as it itself isn't hidden, or the folder it's in isn't hidden, it should show up regardless. Sometimes the search takes a while, which is not exciting, and there we go. The first point I want to make is if you click right on it, on that folder, you're not going to go someplace helpful. It's going to take you to search results in computer / that folder, which really sucks, which we're going to see why in a second. We can see the number of them that are there. So we go there, we found it, okay, there's the folder it and all its garbage lives in. And since we're pretending it's malicious, we want that gone. If we go back to search results, we lose that list, which is obnoxious. So we'll go ahead and search for it again. Alright, so that's happening. Searched a little faster. So what we want to do here is we either want to open, on right click, open containing directory, or I do it here in a sec. There we go. Open folder location, near the bottom. Or open in new window. Open folder location might still open it in the same place, losing your search results, which may or may not be important. Otherwise, you can go to properties and copy the direct location and just open that in the run box. This way you'll jump right there without losing your search results. In some cases, these will be located in 4 or 5 different places, so having to research on a slow computer can take a long time, which again, we want to avoid. Broken record. We see a couple other extensions in here too in one of the default locations, so we're going to just go ahead and wipe all that out. It's pretty easy to get the default Chrome extensions back, and it's unlikely that we're going to delete those anyway. We got nothing to worry about on that front. So we're all good there. and those are gone. We also saw before that the additional local storage things with the same ID showed up in the same folder, so we didn't need to search or check again. You can see the AdBlock Plus icon disappeared. It still says it's loaded, but it can't do anything anymore. Now if you remove it, it shouldn't come back. On rare occasion that it does manage to come back, research for it again on reboot and see if you missed something. Otherwise, you have to go pretty nuclear and remove every single Chrome folder imaginable and search around for it. It can be a bit of a headache, but you can also test and see if the Chrome malware is even effective or doing anything nasty with Chrome's Task Manager or just by using Chrome. In this case, we didn't use any additional tools to clean it. A lot of this stuff won't be as complicated if you've already removed the bulk of the matter. But the big thing is to focus on the manual removal stuff, because the more confident and capable you are of this, the less you need to rely on additional tools. Finally, this is just a good idea. Oh, this is not. I forgot where I was. What we're doing now is verifying that we're not making any unusual hops or stops on the way out to the internet. This isn't necessary. I just wanted to make the point that the system's clean. It's browsing correctly and it's doing what it's supposed to. Hops around locally a couple of times and then hops out to the internet. So we're looking good. We're not seeing anything else grabbing it, redirecting it, or doing anything stupid. We're also not seeing any unusual jumps. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel this and show you another thing that's not really a bad idea. There we go. netsh space I space I space R space R and netsh Winsock Reset will reset the TCP/IP interface completely and rebuild the stack and reset the Winsock catalog. These are good ideas all the time, whether you do it through D7 or with typing in command prompt, because these are things we won't always see having been corrupted in Autoruns either. So that pretty much wraps that up. That's the important stuff that we want to cover, because again, the more confident and comfortable you get at manual removal of these types of things, the more easily it is to skip unnecessary steps. For example, you don't need to run JRT and ADW cleaner one at a time. In most cases, the only tools I use besides circumstantial tools are going to be TDSS killer and Malwarebytes and ADW cleaner all at the same time. And then from there, I can run other tools while I'm waiting for those to return results. So that pretty much covers it, and I don't have anything else to touch on. However, there is another minute and some seconds of video. So, I'll just kind of pop some talking in there. Thanks for watching. I really hope the audio quality is good, and this isn't one of those things where I have to say, oh God, please turn it up really high because the audio's too quiet. And that about wraps it up. Thanks a lot.